Good morning. Welcome to Simply Remarkable. Happy Fun Friday before a holiday weekend. It's great. We're so glad you joined us. And the topic of the day today is activate flow, overcome uncertainty. I'm ready to learn how to do that. How about you? Let's go. Greetings to all of our live audience out here coming to us from LinkedIn, X, YouTube, Facebook, and now Instagram. We look forward to this weekly conversation so that you can meet and get to know personally our featured speaker. Please join in the conversation with us. We love to engage people. That's what we do. Just send us a chat, anything, where you're at, any questions, we will be glad to address it. Now, today's featured guest is 15-year concert master, global flow state expert, international keynote speaker, and best-selling author of Flow, Unlock Your Genius, Love What You Do. Now, Diane Allen is here today, and she believes that activating your flow state is the gateway to loving what you do. Welcome, Diane. We are so glad that you are here today, and I know you travel a lot. Where are you coming to us from?
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me. I am in Bend, Oregon, beautiful Bend, Oregon. We have a saying here, have a sparkling day. It's just, there's something about the light, and I think it also has to do with the elevation of where we are. We're in close proximity to the mountains, that it is a very sparkly kind of place to live.
I love that saying, have a sparkling day. We are going to do that today.
Yep.
And thanks for getting up early. We're on the East Coast and she's on the West Coast. So you know she had to get up early. Thank you for doing that. Thank you so much. Now, Diane, this time goes by so fast. So let's just jump in and get with it.
Yeah.
Tell me, Diane, how did you discover flow state in your life? How did it happen?
Oh, desperation. The flow state is these fleeting moments that, where things feel timeless, right? You're completely immersed. It's things are clicking, ideas and insights are popping in. And as a violinist, getting into the music is a musician's version of getting into the flow state. And, an athlete would call it getting into the zone. And these are things that naturally happen in these kinds of professions. So when I would go to audition or do something like really high pressure, I could not activate my flow state. It would just disappear. And I had, a lot of experience getting into the music. It got to a point where it became a ritual. I could just rely on it. But then there was this one concert, like pretty late in my career, where I had this giant interruption and I couldn't get back into flow. And that was the day that I was like, we got a problem here. And I reverse engineered the process to make sure that I know how I uniquely get into flow. And that is what I now teach others to do the same.
Wow, that's a story. Now, I'm from a basketball state, and yes, I've heard getting in the zone all the time.
Yeah.
They say it all the time. They're in their zone. They do well. You can tell they've activated what they do best. And they love what they're doing when they're doing it. You can tell. They are on it. You can tell.
Yes.
So that was, to me, my first experience when I first met you and heard about flow. I said, I can relate to that. Yeah, I can. And most people out there, I think, can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you, Janine. Janine's on with us today. Yes,
Hi,
we are
Janine.
working hard.
You know,
Janine does some of this too.
yeah, that's right. The thing about athletes and people in the arts, right? So here, this is the orchestra I used to play in. Concertmaster is the lead violinist, second in command to the conductor. I was in the hot seat. I had to be in my excellence, right? This looks like a dominoes. Like if I faltered, it would just ripple effect. But if I rocked, right, that would ripple effect. So I always had to be at the top of my game, and I relied on being in flow to be in my excellence and to exceed my potential. And so musicians and athletes, we rely very heavily on being in flow to always be in this state. But everybody is wired for this. And everybody has their own unique way of activating flow. And that day that I reverse engineered how I could get into flow, that became what I call the 3-step flow strategy system. And that's what I walk people through to help them figure out their own way of activating flow.
And Janine is telling us all about music. Music is a key here that we need to be involved in because she's excited to learn more about because she knows that's the way to go. That's great. That's great. Now, there's many out there that says, that sounds good, but what is the first step? Because I know I'm a mess. I know I'm not doing my best. I'm not performing and attaining the best. I'm not, getting results that I want. Mm-hmm. What is the number one first thing a person needs to do to get in their flow?
Yeah. Everybody has to reverse engineer how they uniquely get into flow. And I think if I give you some examples, it might help. So for example, my mom was a prolific painter. She had a day job, but at night she would paint and paint and paint and paint and paint. So she would do what she loved after work, right? And she would get into this place where she would be so immersed in what she was doing, she would lose all sense of time. So knowing those key indicators of being in flow is where you start. Where are you when you're losing all sense of time and you just love what you're doing? For my mom, it was in her painting studio. What are you doing? She was painting. That's what she's doing on the outside. But on the inside, I'm pretty sure she was trying to resolve what she had in her mind. She was trying to create an image, and she would call it resolving it. She would, what do I have to do? Which paintbrush do I need? Which colors do I need to mix? Right? She was like in the process of it. That's what she called it, resolving it. Everyone has their own unique name for what they call what they're doing on the inside. And then why is it so meaningful? And I know for her, every single painting had to do with freedom of speech. And that's why it was so compelling for her. My dad, on the other hand, he had a job. He was in sales. It paid the bills. But he brought himself to that job. He was a storyteller. And he was always looking out for other people. He always wanted to help other people and to serve. So those aspects of him, those would be what I would say he does on the inside, right? To serve and to be able to help others would be what he does on the inside and why it's so meaningful for him. And so when you can define these things for yourself, you can own it. And when you own it, that means you can replicate it.
Exactly. So here's what we need to do. Find out what we love and own it. Because and I can see some people out here today say, really, could I really make a living at doing that?
How
would I want to? And I say, yes, you would want to, because my next question to you, Diane, is what are the benefits of activating flow in our lives? What's the benefit?
Yes. I was raised by two people who always told me to do what you love. You know, my mom did it after hours. My dad incorporated it into the workplace, right? And it's just been what I've been raised in, to always do what you love, which really surprised me, because then, you know, I ended up naming my book Unlock Your Genius, Love what you do. And it wasn't until like a couple of weeks ago that I connected that that's, you know, my upbringing, right? And so when you are in a state of flow, you do love what you're doing. It is so satisfying. And employee engagement is way lower than pandemic days right now. It is lower, significantly lower. People are uncertain, right? We've got a lot of change going on. There's so many things. And so grounding yourself in your own unique way of getting into flow is not only going to help you to like feel like yourself in the midst of it all, but when you're in flow, it opens you up to have new ideas. Productivity increases 400%. Learning speed increases 250%, and creativity 500%. One more thing, one more benefit. There's so many, but mental health. On the spectrum between depression and flourishing, there's this midway point called languishing. It's when you're kind of in this state of suspension. You feel fine, but you're not fine. You're functional, but you can't get motivated, right? You're just kind of in this state of suspension. And according to Adam Grant, organizational psychologist Adam Grant, the antidote to go from languishing to flourishing is to activate the flow state.
Wow. All right. I'm ready to take the trip. All right. And this book also explains a lot because it gives you some examples and all. What else is in the book?
There are a lot of examples. There are 2 systems to activate your flow. And then there's conversation about leadership. Like I said, I had to lead the orchestra. And when you are in flow, you are in this energy of enthusiasm, right? If you're so into something, you know, let's just take it out of work for a second. We've all heard of somebody who's got like a ritual on Friday night, right? Friday night's pizza night. Not only is it pizza night, but it's like we make our own pizza from scratch night. And you might not be into pizza, but if they invite you over and they're like totally into it, of course you're going to get into it, right? You just, and that is being, when you are so immersed in something and you just love what you're doing, you naturally radiate out this energy. This is how I led the orchestra. I don't know if you noticed, I had to lead without speaking, right? So nonverbal leadership is this exuding your energy, and people around you sync up. They sense it. Now they're exuding their energy in 3-foot circles. Now the audience gets looped in, and this is one way that you can nonverbally ignite group flow.
And that's what we're doing here today.
Yeah, of course.
We're a long way separate, but we can have that energy.
Yeah.
And you're very good at virtual, I must admit.
Thanks.
Because that's part of who we do. Yes. And Janine agrees with you. She loves Adam Grant. And we need to engage with this. Self-awareness is key, like you're telling us. And with your book, you came out with something unique. I've never seen it before, not ever. When I got it from you, and when you hear her speak, you probably will get one. It is a door knocker. It is a door knocker. And on one side it says, interruptions are the #1 killer of flow. I'm like, okay, how many times do we all get interrupted in doing what we love? Yeah. And then on the other side, this is how you can do this. It says, do not disturb. I'm in my flow. This is a reminder to us that we don't need to let those interruptions rule us, do we? Because we can make them rule us.
I want to share a story with you. I was at a speaking engagement and I met an architect. Her most important work and the most fulfilling part of her work is doing designs. And the office, in order for her to do her design work, she really needs a prolonged period of time without any interruptions. And so she was finding herself staying after hours, after everyone else left, to get her work done. And when she saw this, she was like, no wonder I've been doing this. Not only is she staying after hours, but then, she's starting the next day. Like, this is not healthy, right? This is not going to be sustainable for her. She knew it. And she realized, all I have to do is create an interruption-free zone during the work day. And she did.
This helps us avoid working too many weekends too.
Yes.
But you know what? The one thing when I first got the book that caught me and grabbed me, because it says, unlock your genius. Now, I think most people are like me. I didn't grow up with people telling me I'm a genius. And sometimes we don't even think we have any right to be a genius. Hey, you could be just doing anything out there and maybe not thinking. And I said, can I unlock my genius? Do I have it? This started me thinking of the creative, and this is what Janine too is in the creative and in the innovation. This is how it happens. You do have genius, and thank you for naming it that, because that just grabbed me.
I think that I think of genius in different levels, right? When you're in your own genius, you're basically you being you. It's that thing that makes you tick, right? It's that thing that it's your secret sauce. That's another way people explain it. And it's interesting because I was at a difficult time in my life where there were a lot of interruptions. My mom had Alzheimer's. I was her primary caregiver. And during that time, I thought that putting flow on the back burner was the right thing to do. She was suffering. Don't I need to be suffering too? Right? So I think that when we are in our genius and we are in that yummy place where we're doing that thing that makes us tick, it could feel like in today's society that's wrong, right? You should work hard, right? Not be in ease. So I'm like, no, this is you personally being in your genius. But then the other part of being in your genius is when you are in flow, the neuroscience of flow, what happens in your brain, it does literally open you up to having new thoughts, ideas and insights coming in. And a lot, that's another example where we can interrupt ourselves. We might have some idea and then think, oh, that's a pipe dream. And then you discredit it. But like, no. Entertain it at least, right? before you eliminate it.
Well, they say all of us have a book inside of us. And how do you unlock that to ever write it? And that's part of this. Maybe you're supposed to. Anyone out there today, it could be you're supposed to. And you just don't get it. Even though you have it and want it, you just don't get it. So this is where flow, I've seen flow come in. And I've heard those stories of people, once they got this and understood it and spent time doing it without interruptions, they could get to those things. Yeah. And I always heard this motto, do less and accomplish more. And I'm like, really? That's not how our world works, but it does. It does. And you have to decide that that's the way you're going to. Now, we featured a quote of yours this week. And it said, activating, excuse me, this is North Carolina allergy time. Yeah. Okay. It happens every year. We know it comes. It's just there. But your quote was, activating the flow state moves people from disengagement, which we said there's a problem there about engagement, and mental fatigue toward fulfillment and flourishing. Yes. Tell us how that works.
Connection with self. You have to start with connecting with yourself before you can engage in your work, right? So it's that part of like connecting with that secret sauce. How can you bring that into your work? How can you personally be responsible for engaging in your work? And then the flourishing part comes from what we were talking about with the mental health spectrum between depression and flourishing. How do you get to that place? And flourishing is when you're at a peak state, and oftentimes you exceed what you even thought you were capable of. So that would be like the range in to answer your question about that quote.
Okay, yeah, that because it is. It's a movement to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
I can see how you can go and speak so that teams and leaders can work on this and they'll see the results. They'll see the results. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you for bringing that out there. Now, Diane, what industries request you most to speak on your topic of flow?
You know, it's a niche topic, but it is not a niche industry.
Okay.
I have spoken for so many different, professions. I've spoken for, at leadership conferences. I've spoken for human resources events. I've spoken for an electronics company. I've spoken, let's see what else. It's a company that owns a whole bunch of assisted living homes. So, I mean, the gamut, right? I've spoken for education professionals. I've spoken for, anyways, I'm about to speak.
HR professionals,
Yeah.
HR professionals in the HR industry.
Yeah.
I've also,
I've got something coming up for country club managers, right? So,
yeah. So the reason why I ask that is because a lot of people think, oh, golly, if it has to do with the brain, if it has to do with this, it's only for certain industries. That wouldn't be for mine. Or, oh, I've got this client. I don't think that would be. I wanted to share that everybody needs this.
Let me share this story. I was in Alaska speaking for the HR conference. There was a gentleman there who processes all of the workplace injury reports in the fishing industry. Okay. And he described to me two different jobs. You've got the people who wash the fish, and then you have these people who, I don't know what the machinery is, but he had this gesture where you have to put all your might into pulling this thing down. It's very physical. And it processes the fish. And then there's this window on the side where you see the fish stacking up that you have processed. And he says to me, which job do you think has the highest workplace injuries? Any guesses, Sue?
Yeah, it's that industry.
The people doing the heavy work or the people washing the fish?
Construction.
It's actually the people washing the fish. They have the highest rate of workplace injuries. It's because there's no skill, no challenge, and no purpose at all. And he realized, and we haven't mentioned purpose yet, if you are not aligned with purpose, a huge part of being in flow is being in purpose. It is purpose-based peak performance. And when he looked at that job, he thought, I need to gamify this. I need to help these people to develop skills. Like, let's have a skills contest. What's your skill for washing fish? What's your skill for washing fish, right? Let's have some fun with it. Let's have a challenge, right? Let's challenge these people to use their skills. And then let's give them a purpose. Let's ask them, like, how can you feel connected with this work? And he was convinced that this was going to help them to activate flow.
Janine agrees with you. She said the brain needs purpose to focus and keep going. Yeah, we do. We all know that. We've heard about it. It's been told to us.
Yeah.
But you do have to activate that.
Yes.
It becomes personal to you to be able to do that. And you have to take uninterrupted time to do that.
Yes.
That's That's key. I can see.
And if I were to put a button on this, it would be this. Being in flow is a state of mind. Okay. So it's a mind state. But what I have developed and what I now teach is how do you get yourself into flow? And that is the mindset that gets you into the mind state.
Exactly. Because we just don't think about it. That's something we avoid. And that's, if you're going to have good brain health, if you're going to have good results, you've got to do that. And like I say, everything starts in the brain, right? The mindset, everything starts there. So you're helping teach us how to activate that and use it. And that's so key. This is so key. I'm just excited about this. Now, one more question. What are most event planners asking you to bring to their audiences in today's world? Now, I'm just going to tell you, she brings her violin, and it's a beautiful and wonderful experience of opening, which is unique. So what topics or what things, when they call you and say, when they call me, hey, what am I looking for?
Yeah. So, yes, so I do perform music at the beginning and end of my keynotes. And then in the middle of the keynotes, we do 2 experiential exercises where people get into flow in the moment. So you get into flow while you're learning about it. And that also incorporates the music. So what people are looking for are, like you mentioned, engagement, getting people to connect with their work, productivity, time management, right? You can get so much more done when you're in flow. Happiness, just increasing happiness and joy. So there are a lot of different ways that you can spin flow. But mostly it's to keep up with today's, it gives you the ability to navigate uncertainty, to rise above disruption when you're able to connect with ideas and insights coming in from out of the blue, where you can learn, you're accelerating your learning speed with all of these things that we have to, deal with right now. I think change management would be another topic that you could put this under. And to feel happy and flourish.
Sounds like a great deal to me. Now, in closing, Diane, I told you this goes by quick. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do today to be remarkable? And is there anything else you want to share with our audience today?
Oh, I have some really fun projects today. I have been creating with a music arranger, orchestral backing tracks for my music. So I'm not just playing the violin by myself. It's like I have the full orchestra with me. And so I am working with somebody today to compose some new music and then to be able to send that to the arranger. So that's like, and I will be completely in flow today doing that. And I love working with other people, because when you bounce ideas off of other people, you get into this group flow state. Wait, there was 2 parts to your question. What was the second one?
Is there anything else you want to share before we go?
Is there anything else I want to share? Get into your life like a musician gets into the music.
Exactly. And this has been so key. Thank you for sharing today.
Thank you.
And with our audience out there today, what are you going to do today to be remarkable? Did you hear something today that you need to get in on? Is there something you need to interrupt your schedule and say yes and do this? Certainly get her book, and we want to make sure that we know what you're going to do today to be remarkable. Diane told us, so we'd love to hear from you. You can put it in the chat, or you can send us a comment anywhere, because we'd love to know that. And As Janine says, interactive keynotes are the best. That's it. They can walk away with something in that. And let me just tell you, both of these ladies do that. So that's wonderful that we can do that. Thanks so much, Diane, for joining us today. We wish you a remarkable rest of 2025 and much success in helping people understand all about flow state and how to activate it in their lives. Now, let me ask you, event planners out there or anybody that has an interest in looking for a speaker, are you one looking for a speaker who can boost employment engagement and workplace happiness, who can help leaders inspire their teams during times of uncertainty or change? Diane Allen is your perfect choice. Contact us today. The number's there and we're on our website. We would love to show you more about how this could really impact your event. And we hope you will join us right back here next Friday, May 30th. Can you believe May will be gone? Well, I'm not sure where it went, but it's reality. But the speaker we're going to have next week is a 29-time Emmy Award winner, speaker, TEDx speaker with over 450,000 views on his TEDx, the amazing Bill Staten. He is one of the top innovation and creativity keynote speakers for corporations and associations that want their people to produce better results under pressure and come through with breakthrough ideas on demand, right? All while keeping the attendees laughing. You won't want to miss this fun time with Bill Staten. Come join us next week. And are you subscribed to our YouTube channel? We hope so. If not, you need to today. Because what you will find there is all of our videos from our past shows so that you have a resource. And event planners, we also have all the current videos of those people that we represent here at Remarkable. So you can plan your event right from our YouTube channel. We hope you will do that and you won't miss anything there. This is great. Now, everyone, thanks for joining us today. I love what I get to do every day. I challenge you, let's be remarkable together. I would love to help you at any point and connect you with all that you need. And also remember to continue to pray and support those who are still recovering from the devastating effects of Hurricane Helene, Milton, especially here in Western North Carolina, and also from the fires. We don't want these people to be forgotten because we know it will be a long time recovery and we just can't forget them. So I just urge you to not forget them. And I hope you have a remarkable and safe Memorial Day weekend. And we will be right here next week with you. Thank you again, Diane, and have a remarkable weekend.